Welcome to Hello Baltimore County. I'm Ellen Kobler. Lead paint poisoning is still a prevalent problem, and it's not just happening in low-income areas. With us in studio are David Fielder of Lead Safe Baltimore County and David Skinner of the Green and Healthy Homes Initiative. David, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about the Lead Safe Baltimore County program.
So the county has a grant from the federal government to assist families in Baltimore County that may have lead paint in their homes, and we would come in, provide a contractor, do lead paint testing, and assist the family in temporary relocation while the work would be being done.
Okay, and lead paint was prevalent up to a certain year, and so if your home was built by a certain year, how does that work?
Correct. Lead paint was prevalent in the United States up until 1978, and at that point it stopped being used in household paints. So houses pre-1978 are eligible for the program.
Okay, so that's the magic year.
It is.
All right, and tell us a little bit about the county's partnership with the Green and Healthy Homes Initiative, which is who our other David represents.
We've been in partnership with Green and Healthy Homes Initiative for the last 4 or 5 years, and they assist us with community outreach, they assist us in grant writing and other smaller areas that we need them to.
Okay, so David, tell us a little bit about Green and Healthy Homes Initiative in general and your work with Baltimore County.
Well, the Green and Healthy Homes Initiative started off as the Coalition to End Childhood Lead Poisoning originally. So its mission from the beginning was about helping families to address the issue of the lead-based paint in their homes and providing funds and resources for those families to get that toxic material out of the house so that their kids don't get lead poisoning in the first place. And if the kids already had lead levels or elevated blood lead levels, it would help to minimize the rate at which those lead levels would have gone up.
Okay, and lead paint poisoning is a very bad thing, right? Tell us a little
Absolutely.
bit about some of how it happens and the symptoms and the problems it creates.
So the first thing, the way people are exposed to lead poisoning is that it's in the paint that is, again, in this paint that was banned after 1978, but it was an additive to the paint to make it more durable. And once that paint begins to crack, chip, flake, or peel, it begins to become dust, which can be as small as microscopic airborne particles or as the larger particulate matter that you see on the floor or in the windowsills. And that can even just be on toys and furniture and clothing in the house. Now, we're talking about children that are under the age of 6 because these are the people who are most susceptible to the adverse impacts associated with lead poisoning. Lead is a neurotoxin. Once it gets into the blood, it goes to the brain where it starts to adversely impact the areas of the brain that control cognition, how people learn. What happens is that once kids get that lead dust in their mouth from that hand-to-mouth activity that they so often do, or they can just simply inhale it from it being in the atmosphere, especially if they're in an environment that has been under construction or renovation and those activities had not taken place in a safe manner or the family had not been relocated, which is also prescribed in a set of guidelines and protocol maintained by the Environmental Protection Agency.
Okay, and I think people might not realize it's not necessarily just what's in your house, but if your child is going to grandma's house or to a daycare, you have to actually be focused on those places as well, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, because if you think about 3 granules of sugar, the research says that that's the equivalent of exposure. That's all it takes for a child to begin to develop lead levels in their blood.
Wow. So David, tell us a little bit about what Baltimore County is doing to try to find people that are at risk and prevent it.
Right.
So our program has income levels, and we reach out to folks throughout the Baltimore County area. We have various community outreach events that we go to throughout the county. Green and Healthy Homes Initiative helps us out with that. Our own county staff goes out to communities. We reach out to hospitals and nurses to help us bring in potential cases, not necessarily cases that have already become an elevated blood level, but cases that could potentially become that and stop that before it actually happens.
Okay, and just recently the Maryland Department of Health and Mental Hygiene made a big announcement about testing of children. Tell us more about that.
So in the next year, we look to see statewide all children being tested at ages 1 and 2. Currently
All
only
children?
all children.
Okay.
Currently, only Baltimore City is testing children at 1 and 2, and then in Baltimore County, the Head Start programs require that. But so there's a whole population out there that we are not reaching currently.
Okay, so sort of speak to the people that are watching and tell
Right.
them what they need to know, what they need to do, and how you guys can help.
So the opportunity that exists now is the county's Lead Safe Baltimore County Grant Program. This is a grant that's funded by HUD that provides an opportunity for homeowners and for renters to qualify based on their income eligibility for $15,000 to do the lead abatement work in their homes to get to a lead safe standard. Other points of eligibility are that they must have a child that's under the age of 6, or a pregnant woman that lives at that house or simply visits that house.
Even one that visits, okay.
Absolutely.
And that's a child or a pregnant woman.
Absolutely.
Wow, okay.
That's right. And what we want to be able to do is come out, we send out a lead risk assessment firm to identify which surfaces actually have those hazardous surfaces. We will get them in contact with a contractor that's in Baltimore County's contractor pool to coordinate the start date. And then we also have funds in this grant to relocate the family while this work is being done.
Oh, sure, because it's during the construction process that there's the greatest
That's
risk.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
And then we won't have that family come back into that property until the property passes the the Maryland Department of the Environment's lead clearance inspection.
Okay. And David, we've established that it's any house that was built or had painting done,
Correct.
Prior to 1978. And so that's really not just a problem in low-income areas or for people with low income.
No. And the lead paint was an expensive product when it was being used. So lots of wealthy folks were painting out whole houses with lead paint.
Oh
So
my gosh.
some of those houses could have much more lead hazards than, say, a lower income person who may have a row home in Baltimore County with just a few leaded items.
Okay, so over the years, people repaint and they paint over. So when you paint over with a latex or a different kind of paint, does that sort of seal in the lead or
That
not so
does
much?
seal in the lead for a period of time. However, with a normal use of a house, things can get banged around on walls, on windows, moving up and down, doors opening and closing. The new paint that you've put on will wear out after a period of time. And then it gets down to the layers of the lead paint, and that is exposed, and that starts to chip and crack and break, and then there's exposure to children.
Okay, and as far as the grants, you mentioned that there's income levels. For somebody who might be a moderate income person that doesn't qualify for that, is there any help available for those folks, or it's just something they need to undertake?
Well, there are other options too, because the state has a grant as well, Department of Housing and Community Development, which is a lead hazard reduction grant, or in some cases a loan if their income exceeds normal income eligibility parameters.
Okay, so maybe it's a low rate
Right.
loan that can be spread over time.
That's right.
All right, and how do people find out about some of these programs?
Online would be the best source to find out about programs. If they searched for Lead Safe Baltimore County, they would find us. And like you're saying, if they do not fall within our income levels, we can provide them with contractors that would be certified to deal with the lead paint in their house.
Okay, and we've been talking about inside the house, but you all have shared with me something that was surprising to me, which is that the paint on the outside of the house can be a problem too. Can you
Right.
explain?
Right, so customarily whole exteriors of homes were painted with lead paint, again, because that lead paint was such a durable product. So you mentioned the asbestos shingles that you had removed. That's very customary because people want to get rid of these hazardous materials.
Yeah.
Most often, these shingles were painted with lead paint too.
Ooh.
So that's two hazards that you have to be mindful of in the renovation process or in the removal process when you're trying to address these surfaces.
But how does the paint get from sort of
So-
outside to the child?
Well, the outside of the area or the perimeter of the house is commonly referred to as the drip line. So just from normal erosion rain, wind, those surfaces deteriorate, and those lead paint particles get into the soil around the house. When I was a kid, I used to make mud pies. You know, so
Did you
what
eat
kids
'em?
don't like dirt? I probably ate one or two. So, you know, what kids don't like dirt and just playing outside, and you just that
Right.
course of being a child and just normal childhood activities, you can be exposed by what ends up becoming lead soil contamination by the lead.
Okay, so David, in the few seconds we have left, just tell people what they should do to prevent lead paint poisoning.
Well, this is a completely preventable hazard in your home. You can contact Baltimore County's Lead Safe Baltimore County, and we can, if we can help you, we can help you find a contractor that can help you.
Okay, well, gentlemen, thank you so much for what you do to try to help prevent this terrible health concern, and for being with us today.
Thank you for getting the word out.
Sure. Thank you. And thank you for watching Hello Baltimore County. You can find out more on the lead paint issue and others that are important to your family on the county website and by connecting with Baltimore County government on Facebook and Twitter.